Hey, everybody. Do I have a guest for you? I am so fortunate to have guests like the next one I'm going to introduce in just a second. I feel so grateful to have people like Christopher Mominey today. So please, my friend, introduce your wonderful self to the audience.
Thanks, Francesca. So again, Chris Mominey here. So glad to be able to join you and carve out some time to chat a little bit. I am currently have the great honor of serving as the CEO of Westchester University's foundation here in outside of Philadelphia. I think a lot of folks know it here in this area for sure. State school, 17,500 students, largest in the state system. But we're the philanthropic arm of the university, so I am out there raising money on behalf of the university. We have a great staff of 28 folks here. We also run a little housing company here for the university and manage and lease up 3,000 of the 5,000 beds on campus. But I'm here as the leader, as the culture warrior, as I like to say, and I try and just create an environment. Try and create the environment where people can do their jobs. So I have the easiest job here.
Oh, well, you're quite humble, my friend, because I will tell all of you who are listening, he is very humble. We've had so many great conversations that it was difficult for me to just pick a couple. A lot of you know that I try to keep this podcast to under 20 minutes in each episode. So, I have like little notes like, as if and not yet, because there's so many great stories that Christopher is going to share with us. But let's talk about this position that you're holding today, Christopher, and how you got there. The story that you shared with me when we initially connected, I was blown away. And I really feel it's one that a lot of us can learn from. So how do you feel about unpacking that story for us?
Sure, absolutely. So in my current role, as I said, very limited sort of, it's the fundraising arm of the university. Heretofore, I spent 25 years in K-12 education, particularly Catholic education. And those of you that are from Philadelphia know that this is kind of the brass ring of this is the, in a lot of ways, the birthplace of Catholic education. St. John Newman founded parochial schools here in Philadelphia. So it was a great joy for me to be able to interview for that position. Ultimately, as a finalist in 2013 and became the Secretary of Education for the Archdiocese, which is a fancy way of saying you were the Archbishop's delegate for all things education. And so in that process, I had gone through some work with an organization called the Pacific Institute around mindset and about how mindset impacts your habits, attitudes, beliefs, expectations, and how you act out of those things. So part of our training, Francesca, was this notion of act as if. Don't talk about the future as if it's out there. Be the future right now. So I came into my final interview with the bishop and two other folks, and I said, just before we start, I want you to know I'm going to speak in the present tense. I'm going to talk as if I'm already the Secretary of Education. I'm going to talk as if I am looking out from my seat at the desk instead of a seat looking towards the desk. And so we just had this great conversation in the present tense about not what we're going to do, but here's what we're doing here in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, and bang, 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 bang. And here's what we do. And tomorrow when we wake up, we're going to do this and build on this. And then we're going to. So it really went a long ways, I think, to sort of share my mindset. And that translated here well as the CEO of the foundation, because it is very, very similar work, mission-centered work. So I just believe that if you act as if with a dose of humility, right? I mean, there can be some arrogance there of, well, I'm the greatest. It either could have played well or gone a different direction. But for me, it worked out well, and we were able to actually take that work and spread it across the Archdiocese to have a different mindset as it came to education. So it's great.
I love that story. Talk about preparation. In my mind, the story you just told was your preparation for corporate Olympics, right? We know how Olympiads train and visualize and use visualization techniques or see the ball getting into the hoop, right? Yep. Your translation of what you just explained to us
That's right.
was that story in success, right?
It's imagination, right? It's imagination, and it's not imagination in the sense of dreaming or like, wow, pie in the sky. It's one of my favorite golfers, and big golfer is, and I'm a lefty as well, as Phil Mickelson. And they say that his great gift is his imagination, is to say, oh yeah, I can totally hit this shot. Now, again, he's honed in on his skills and he's honed in on those things. But one of the things I learned early on in this, in sort of this learning process of training my mind this way, was, again, it's so much about mindset. Example, right? I've had the privilege of playing Pebble Beach a couple of times.
Yeah.
I hit a 7-iron 150, 145, 150 yards pretty consistently. I'll do it on a Muni course here in Philadelphia. I'll do it at Pebble Beach. But gosh, it was a lot harder at Pebble Beach. And it's like, why? Well, it's Pebble Beach. And the environment around you, you're like, oh my God, can I hit this 7-iron to the hole, to the green? That's mindset, right? It's adapting to that environment, but focusing and saying, I still have this skill set that I can adapt to this culture, this environment, these surroundings in a way that can make me successful. And so I think that, like you said, that as if is really about imagination and about visualizing and saying, I can get this, to the hole. And if I can't, how can I get it there? It's not that I can't, it's that there must be a different way of navigating this.
Yeah. It's such an important part of success. I hear it more and more, Chris, about how important visualization is for our success. We need to also feel ourselves in that winning position, in that successful position, leading a great company. There's so much to what you're saying. And it's what I hear from very successful people, leaders, business leaders, again, athletes. And you just described that as if, think about teams that have home games and away games. They have a skill set and they have to just forget where they are, if you will, and remember what they can do. So I just love your
exactly. And it's about that, it's about all the things that you hear about coaching forward. It is all about the future instead of the past, right? It's all, imagination is about the next shot. Coaching forward has built in there forward, looking ahead. We talk about, oh, they're great visionaries. That's because they're always looking ahead. I used to tease my boss in Syracuse when I was superintendent of Catholic schools up there, the bishop, sort of where we were parked in the lot. He was behind, his car was behind mine, sort of in the next row. And I'd be backing out. He's like, Christopher, he said, you didn't, and it's Syracuse, so there's snow all the time. And he said, Christopher, he said, you didn't wipe off your back windshield. Don't hit my car. I said, Bishop, you're not paying me to look backwards. So, it's all the things that you hear around good leadership always boil down to that sort of looking forward, coaching forward, imagining forward. We did this exercise with the Archdiocesan team in the office. In 2013, when we got there, one of the things that we had learned through the Specific Institute training was the replacement picture, right? Painting that replacement picture. So we actually wrote an article for the newspaper, if you will, of what that article, how that article would read in 2018, 5 years forward. And it was all in the present tense. And then we went around reading different paragraphs and people were like, whoa. And once you paint that replacement picture, people work towards that. They work towards a replacement picture and say, if we keep saying we're going to grow our enrollment, then you're going to keep finding ways to grow the enrollment. If here at the foundation, we had a record-setting year last year, cash-wise. We had a $9 million goal, brought in $13.8 million. Why is that?
Congrats.
It's my great leadership. It's not great leadership. We're down 3 FTEs from where we were when I started.
Wow.
But it's that mindset of, let's set our goals higher. Let's achieve those goals. Let's act as if, and let's stretch ourselves a little bit further. So again, takes a touch of arrogance with slash humility to make sure that you can that you still have the skills to get there, because ultimately you still got to hit that. You still got to have the skill, but
you still have to have the skill set.
Yeah, where people can be successful.
So I have a question that, as I'm listening to you, do you think acting as if, do you think you need confidence to act as if, or you gain confidence from acting as if?
I think you have to be a little bit audacious to paint the replacement picture, and you got to be bold, right? I do think it comes from self-confidence and experience, but I think that confidence lies within, and that's what this, this training and this cognitive psychology brought out in is like that the efficacy, right? The self-efficacy of saying, yeah, I got this. I totally could do this. I'm not limited. So yes, there's that element of confidence, but there's also that element of audacity to say, I'm going to do that deep dive into myself to go find that. And that admission of, yeah, I've got this. And again, people may be sitting on the other end of this listening, God, this guy's something else. I wouldn't characterize, and I think my wife and my family and closest friends would agree with this, is come across this way, but if I took a self-esteem test, it would probably be like, oh God, he could do a lot in the way of self-esteem, so it's not about self-esteem or feeling self-importance. It's more
Right.
about what are my skill sets? What am I good at? How can I create a culture in which to be successful? If I was asked to if you called me over to say, hey, we need some plumbing work done in our garbage disposal, I'd say, I'm not confident and arrogant enough to think I got you. I know that I don't got
Right.
you.
Right.
So.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. Again, thank you for articulating the story. So let's talk for a minute or two about the not yet, because I love that
Yeah.
story. I love what it means. I feel like we can all learn from it and being our best selves. Tell the audience what I'm referring to in that story.
So we were fortunate enough again to take this sort of education, if you will, of the Pacific Institute, and again, don't want this to be a commercial for them, but to sort of spread across the archdiocese. And like every organization, places picked it up and ran with it. Some places didn't. There's a particular school in the city of Philadelphia, and I think it had more resonance. It resonated more in the city schools for a variety of reasons, and took this program on and brought it to their teachers. And they forwarded me a couple of student papers, and we're talking about third and fourth graders, so you get to them early and start to train that mindset. It's unbelievable. And they forwarded me these papers. A teacher who had reviewed student work.
Air quotes, by the way, if people are not watching, air quotes, as he said, corrected. Yep.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. And so they took the student's paper, and I think it was a series of math questions actually, and they had to show their work in traditional math fashion. And the teacher, I'd be accustomed to in my math classes in fourth and fifth grade, getting the big red X on it from Sister Mary Holywater or somebody. And but this lay teacher, love her, gave the papers back to the students and wrote not in red pen, but in the same color pen, not yet, saying to the student that this isn't the answer, but you're going to find it, which is a very different message than wrong. This is wrong. Right. Well, that's nice. I mean, we wouldn't raise our children that way, right? Well, this is wrong, because the next question out of their mouth is, why, Dad? Yeah, right. I'm not telling you that. That's just wrong. It just not just because that doesn't fly with kids. So, it was a really special. It really sent home to me the message of how do we coach forward even in our organizations, right? How do I, in performance evaluations, or and I'll lead it with, and these are senior leaders that I'm working with, and say, hey, you know what, Francesca, in the spirit of next time, and they know when I'm going to say that I'm kind of course correcting, but that I'm it's not that I got to talk to you, come in here. It's, oh, you know what, put your arm around, in the spirit of next time. Go ahead and do it. Think about doing it this way.
That's
so
incredible.
That's that not yet.
And I love how you tell the story. I love how you relate it back to corporate and back to every one of us working, and it's living, it's these relationships and how we can approach when something we're not ready. We're going to get there. So thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom, Christopher. I'm just, again, so fortunate to have you. So I'm going to flip the script a little bit and talk about something we didn't mention, but you probably heard a couple of my podcasts, and I ask a magical question at the end. Absolutely. So I hope I hope and pray you can answer this, but because it's about confidence, it's about dressing well and presenting your best self. So I ask you, Christopher, what is your favorite piece of clothing or accessory of all time? And how does it make you feel?
There is nothing better than, for me, throwing on a baseball hat. I have my favorite sort of Callaway golf hat and it just fits me, right? It just, I feel as if it looks good on me. It gives me confidence, like on the golf course, that like I look like a golfer. It's different than wearing a baseball hat onto the golf course or just throwing it. It's a brand name. You kind of, it's black, goes with my black sort of out, and you kind of like, yeah, I feel I feel confident throwing this thing on, and it takes all of my energy sometimes, Francesca, not to like do a tip of the hat. I make a putt. There's nobody there to watch me, of course, but unless I'm with my
So
son.
great.
If I'm with my son, I definitely do it. I'm like, yeah, so
Right.
so yeah, my black Callaway golf hat is my favorite. I was gonna bring it today, and then I thought, this is just audio. So as I said to you
It's okay.
earlier, I got the perfect face for radio, so this is perfect that nobody will have to see my mug. But yeah, that was that's definitely my favorite article.
Well, you answered it with exact perfection because you mentioned the word confidence, and we didn't rehearse this part. So
I
just want
know.
everybody to know, because it comes up
It happens. It just
in
happens.
these podcasts. So I thank you so much. So if someone wanted to reach out to you, Christopher, to learn
Yeah.
more about the foundation, to just
Oh
talk
gosh.
with you because you're just a wealth of wisdom, um, what's the best place for people to find you?
Love it. Best place to hit me is on my email, but I love when people hit me up on Twitter. So email, really easy, is just C Mominey, just like it sounds, Mominey, Mominey, at wcufoundation.org. But the very easiest way is just message me on Twitter at Mominey Philly. At Mominey Philly is my Twitter handle. Love to hear from people there, and that's how we make these connections, Francesca. I think that's
That's
how we
right,
met,
isn't it?
is through some of this. And listen, if you can't tell, and then this is why I'm in this business, probably a relational person. You and I have struck it up. I feel like I know you from, we
Right.
should probably, we're probably cousins or something down
Yeah,
the
we're
Italian.
paisans. There's no doubt. Next
There's no,
conversation, we'll talk about that.
we'll do it all in Italian. We'll do it all in Italian.
That's right.
And but no, absolutely love relationships, love being a connector and building those relationships. So absolutely hit me up at Mominey Philly on Twitter.
Well, thank you so much. You are such a pleasure. I appreciate you and thank you for your time, and keep doing the great work. It's just
Thank
magical.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, Francesca.
Yeah.